So, we're going to roll. But we both got to see Barbie today.
Oh my God, can we talk about it?
I would love to talk about it.
I want to
I
talk about
loved that
Barbie.
movie. And I'm
Bro,
just
me
going to say that. I
too.
love that movie.
Oh
I
my
loved that
God,
movie. It was great. And
dude.
honestly, I didn't go into it with like any expectation. I know that it's been talked about and hyped up here and hyped down, you know what I mean, in
I
different places. So I really went in blank and I really didn't think that much about it other than it's a Barbie movie.
do you want to know what I went in
And
it knowing? That I was going to cry. Didn't know I was actually going to cry more than I did. And at
well,
different points in the movie.
I knew what it was about and I
Welcome to a
knew
Barbie
what people
podcast.
argued but I
People
really
can go
I
fuck
still went
off.
into it with like a blank open mind, like not really expecting much or not. I don't think that's the right way of wording it, but it's not that I wasn't
So you
expecting
didn't
much,
have you didn't
but
have any
I didn't have
expectations
any expectations, high
going
or
in.
low. It was fantastic. It was
Oh my
probably one of the
God.
best movies I've watched like for a while.
Lately, oh my God. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's so funny. So let's talk about
it
the
was
discourse
great.
around this. Is like it's basically men who had their fragile little egos hit because of this
It's so
movie.
funny because I went to see it with a man, not by choice. He's like, I don't know if that was the worst movie I've ever seen or if I actually was amused and it was funny. And I was like, oh, did you not get it?
The best part is, so I went with my daughter because obviously we're gonna leave some of this and I can clip that out if you need me to.
I mean, my kid loved it. I mean, even as a boy, okay. But that's the thing. I am all for people bringing their daughters to this movie. I think it's very important. But I even brought my son and
Honestly, it's to
he
show him how not to teach women like pieces of garbage.
see he's raised by me
Yeah.
and it's just the two of us in the household. He was confused for some of it. Like but he understood a lot of it. But he also had points where he's not a super Barbie kid. So he doesn't understand all those little things. So he understood the huge message of it, but he didn't get all the undertones and different extra things. So it was good. And he was just kind of like, yeah, it was a good movie. Kind of like he didn't get it on my soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's funny because I took my daughter and dude, she was cackling through this entire movie. It was nice because she is a woman, so it was
Hmm.
interesting to see it through my eyes, but then like kind of see it through
And
hers.
getting hers.
And she understood about 99% of this entire
Well, I
movie.
wasn't sure how much of a Barbie kid she was that she got those
She
subtle.
wasn't
Um,
a huge one, but she knew.
I had Muppet face for like the first 20 minutes.
Grace's favorite part of the movie was the Ken song. And I thought she was going to hate it because it gave such with all the clips that you saw without seeing the entire thing. It gives
Mhm.
such Kristoff into like Lost in the Woods vibes, and she fucking hates that song. She hates it. It's so cringe. So when it started, she goes, I just look
But it
over and
was
she goes,
different than,
it is.
yeah.
When it started, I just look over and Grace goes, "Oh God, oh God, oh God." She was physically
Oh,
in
so she was mentally preparing for it.
no, she heard the bars coming and she heard him start singing and she got so physically embarrassed for Ken. And then the dance scene happened where all of them are dressed in
I thought
black and
those were
she thought,
fantastic.
and then she changed her mind and she's like, this is my favorite part of the entire movie. And it's all the dancing and it's so fucking funny.
Well, I'm not gonna
And
lie. At first, I was like, all the dance scenes, I was like, okay, we're going with this. But then I just kind of like I was rolling with it, and like all the different, I was like, no, I got this. I'm vibing with this. Like this is fantastic.
that scene, and she loved the beach fight scene between all the Kens.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
great.
great. And then of course, like I cried. The first time I cried in this movie was when America Ferrera was deprogramming that one Barbie and she's going off and I'm like, oh my God. And I look over at Grace and she's just like, because she understood everything that she's explaining because we know as women, I'm fucking bawling. And she looks up and she goes, are you crying? I'm like, yes, I'm crying. This hits so close to fucking home. It's so depressing. And her eyes were watery. Like I could see it. So that was
I
amazing.
started to like tear
Oh,
up like a little bit in the beginning, teared up when she met Ruth in the building. Like there were so many little times that like I was tearing up and I
Yeah.
was like,
Dude, Grace clocked when the music was changing, when her existential dread was coming through, and they changed the lyrics in the music. That's what was happening. It was so good. And then, of course, at the end is the only part of the movie she didn't understand, because she doesn't know what a gynecologist is.
oh,
That's the only thing she didn't understand. It doesn't, and because it's so funny, because you think, because here we are fucking crying our eyes out, so sad, because, you know, they do the little, like, memory
I
reel.
laughed so hard.
Oh my God. So we're in tears, in shambles, and Grace's makeup is gone. And she's like in tears and shambles as they do the memory thing. And I had
And you're
seen,
cackling and she's like, I don't get it.
no. It was
Oh.
prior to that.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. When they're doing the memories and like showing all
Yep.
the things. So I'm fucking crying. Grace is crying. And like we're still in that mode as she's like in the car and they're driving her up. And we are both thinking, oh my God, she's going to get a job. And then she says
Yeah.
and then she gets a gynecologist. And
I totally thought
Grace,
she was walking into Mattel and getting
I
some
know.
important like.
And then fucking Grace and I cackles so fucking loud. The best part is like the movie theater, everyone was laughing at all the different. It was amazing.
Actually,
You don't
I think
need to
that
go
was
see the
part
Barbie
of
movie
like
now.
one of the best experiences for me. Well, I'm hoping everyone's already seen it by this point
I
because
hope so. This will be out in
this is going to come out like a month later. So anyways, that was one of the best parts so for me because I don't know what it was because we went on a Saturday, but my theater was surrounded by old ladies. It was awesome. I think it just made my heart so happy because I was like, oh,
well, Barbie was such a big deal.
That's what I meant. And like just to see all these like old ladies in the theater watching this Barbie movie and like it was
amazing. It was so good.
Great.
I would watch it again. I want to buy this shit on DVD. I don't even care.
I will say the only thing that I am slightly saddened about with the Barbie movie, missed opportunity on Barbie End.
Oh boy.
I will not hold it against them because it was a great movie, but
this is just your chance
saddened.
for Barbie 2.
That's what I'm saying. I'm hoping that this is just their chance at redemption. But I feel like it was a missed opportunity because as much music as there was in this movie, I think Mattel seemed to forget that Barbie produced her own cassette tape and it came with a Barbie doll. And I used to have that cassette tape on repeat constantly. And if Think Pink came on through the theater, I would have been singing the entire damn song still decades later. Because that is how much it played for me when I was young.
The only other thing that I learned about
we should have Think Pink be our intro. No, that we probably get sued.
I would get sued. Get sued. Get taken down so fast.
The other thing, girls.
And then the only missed other opportunity that I wish they had. I really want to know the entire Skipper story. I want to know what happened.
Well, that's why I wonder if there'll be
I hope there'll be another one.
Something else.
This shit was
or like a Netflix special.
That Kenergy was real good.
I want that shirt.
I think I've seen it somewhere. Sells it.
Ken wore at the end.
The Knuff. I am Knuff.
Yeah, I am Knuff.
Yeah, I think I've seen it. It popped up somewhere for me where there is. I don't remember who's selling it, but I did recently see it and I wanted to buy it because I didn't see the movie yet.
I want you to know, Crystal, that you are Knuff. That you are Knuff.
I think it's.
You know what's not Knuff?
This book.
This book. That is exactly where I was going with that.
What book did we read, Ariel? Don't give me that. Don't give me the fish face.
This week, on the days of our lives.
We're off to a rousing start, both.
It's nighttime, can you tell?
This is when Ariel turns into weird Batman. They have weird Barbie, she's got weird Batman.
Because I'm trying not to fall asleep.
Yo, watch her just pass out mid-conversation.
I am legit weird Barbie. That's like...
I know.
That's
like I think we're all a little bit of weird Barbie.
I think we're definitely.
This week on Barbie.
This week, on the dramatic episode of the Smutty Book Club, we read The Games We Play by Katie Rae. There is no previously on, because this is the debut novel of Katie Rae. And if that name sounds familiar to you, it is because it is. We have read Katie Rae's books before. And this was not on purpose, because if we had realized who this was, we would not have read it, but the wheel did this to us again. The first book we read of hers, we loved. We loved. We loved. The second book, we did not. So because it was so up and down, we were like, psh, not again. But somehow, something snuck in. We did not realize. And look what has happened. Stay tuned.
So I need to tell you who you remind me of
Oh,
when you
no.
just did that.
Was it not Days of Our Lives?
It's Keith Morrison from Dateline.
Trying to tell me I'm a man.
Have you never heard Keith Morrison? Tonight
Probably.
on Dateline.
Oh, I was trying to be dramatic, like the start of like Days of Our Lives or
turned
something.
into a true crime host. Jesus fucking Christ.
There was no true crime in this book. Well, oh wait, just kidding. I forgot what we read. I forgot what we read. Please hold.
What did you think?
I watched the Barbie movie and read 2 books in between. Please hold.
There was true crime in this book.
This book had kidnapping. This book had stalking. This book had attempted.
Is this funny to you?
I need to stop.
Continue. I just need you to finish that sentence.
This book had lots of weird crime. So if that's your thing.
Listen, you know what this book didn't have?
Maybe this is your thing. Good writing.
Any trigger warnings for any of the things you literally just mentioned.
No, it did not. Attempted schmapies, attempted murder, kidnapping,
domestic violence.
Lots of things. Domestic violence. This is your trigger warning for this book. Your trigger warning. Here you go. You're welcome.
Congratulations.
You're a winner. Except if, no, you're not. If you read this book.
Insert that song from Moana, You're Welcome.
What can I say? You're welcome.
Yeah. Anyways.
For real though, we read a book for the podcast a while back. It was called
Raptor.
Nope. Talking the other one. It was called Rogue. It was an MMF book. It was Katie Rae's, I think, newest one. It was fantastic. It was well written. The schmixy times were fantastic. It was all around a really good read, and we really enjoyed it. We really liked it. So we were like, hold up, wait a minute. We didn't realize that
put a little Buddha in it. Sorry.
We didn't realize that we plopped a book right out of a series. Why don't we go back to the beginning of that series and read the first one, or put it in our wheel, and the wheel will tell us when we can read the first one. And the wheel did. I don't know how many episodes later was like, you're a winner. Here, read this book. And we read Raptor. And Raptor was the first book in that military series that Katie Rae had written. And
we hated it.
We were very disappointed. It wasn't, I don't think that was that we hated it.
I was being
It was just that we were disappointed because the bar had been risen so high with Rogue. And then we were like, this is not the same. What on earth happened? And it was like, darn. Like, and I know sometimes when you read a book from an author, it can be like hit or miss. And we try to avoid hit or miss authors sometimes, but that's why we were like, oof, we're not reading any more of that series. And this one just happened to be her debut novel. And if we had thought Raptor was rough, buckle up. You're in for a ride.
I will say, though, given that this is her debut novel, it is still better than some other novels I have read. This could have been last week's book.
Absolutely. This is not a terrible book. However, you definitely needed trigger warnings. However, there were huge grammatical mistakes. There were giant words missing in many sentences. I shouldn't have to read sentences and be like, I think this is what they said, because she used the wrong yours a couple times. And that's a super pet peeve of mine. Like, dude, know your yours. This sentence here, decided to with everyone who wore king shirts. It should have said decided to go with everyone.
Oh.
So the word go was missing. There were multiple grammatical errors in this that, yeah, for your first novel, I kind of get it. But as somebody who's obviously grown so much since then, the fact that she has not gone and fixed this on Kindle, at least, is a little frustrating to me. Because if somebody started with her newer series and went to pick her older work or started with her newer work wouldn't make it to her better series,
Yeah.
knowing like if I had started with this series, I would never have gone to Rogue, which is a great book. So this book, The Games We Play, is about Case, Allie, and Cam. The book starts out at a bar and they all meet each other. Case is a Major League Baseball player. Cam is a Major League Football player. They are so used to everyone recognizing them by face, if not by name. And when Allie walks up to them and they kind of have a holy shit, this girl is gorgeous, I want her moment, they think that their fame is going to get the girl when in fact she is in like her worst place ever and does not want to even be at the bar, but is doing a major favor for a friend and is covering her shift, even though that's not her job at all, and has no idea who these nincompoops are. And basically, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty sure the only person on the planet in sports that I could 100% be so confident in picking out of a lineup would be Tom Brady. Any other person in the entire sports world, no idea. Not a one.
I understand that.
Not a
Also,
single one.
when the book started, the way that Case talked about Cam, I thought Cam was a girl at first, and I was really confused.
I
And then
didn't only because we had read what the book was about.
yeah, I forgot about it. So sue me.
Yeah.
He also kind of talks like he's in love with him. So, and then
Because they do have this weird love.
oh yeah, I also swear to God, I thought I had read this book before. Only because the beginning sounded so familiar.
Some of these sports romances are so similar.
True, but the name too, and I was like, I know it. Goodreads said I didn't, so I'm gonna go off of that, but it's entirely possible I did. And then, of course, I was like, of course he feels her presence. I don't know why I went into this book so fucking cynical.
And it was so like Insta. It was like, oh, I've
Yeah.
never had a girl. And then all of a sudden they just had one look at this girl. And then all of a sudden,
I just liked Allie though because
Yeah.
she was so mouthy. She hated her fucking
Oh,
bar
yeah.
job and it was great. I liked her.
Yeah. So Case and Ham grew up together and they both became famous sports people together. It was just an interesting dynamic. And they have had to go through that spotlight together and learn it's hard to trust other people. So they literally have each other and that's kind of it. So they really, like you were saying, kind of have this little bromance going on. And it's palpable, their little bromance. And almost felt there's no almost about it. I felt that there was a disservice to this book, and I think it's because it was her debut novel, and she didn't quite know how to navigate that because she obviously wasn't afraid of doing that more recently. But I felt like it was a very disservice to this book to not make this an MMF instead of an MFM because that bromance.
I think that if it was an MMF, it probably would have elevated the book a lot more.
I obviously saw that she was not able to describe other things accurately and was not able to put trigger warnings. So I was like, oh, maybe she just doesn't know how to like accurately put the labels on this one and we'll get surprised. And I was like waiting for that.
Surprise.
No, we didn't get surprised. So spoiler alert, but there's no sword crossing. Sorry, sad face. So they meet her. She's kind of like, fuck you people. And they were like, no, no, no. She's like, they're gonna fight for her. And
well, because normally they have a completely different server as well. So usually
Mary.
it's Mary.
And she's covering for Mary because Mary's out sick. Mary's her neighbor. That's the friend she was covering for. But she felt the connection between them too, and it scared her, so she took off and went home. So we do learn about her backstory and her domestic violence history with Alan. And we get a flashback from her from 2 years ago and when she used to work at a bar and why she doesn't want to be working at a bar now. But the only reason she is because, like we said, Mary, her neighbor and friend, it used to be her mom's best friend, but her mom passed away. She's sick with cancer and she doesn't want to lose her job during the chemo and radiation. So Allie, in addition to her regular job, said she'd take her shifts, even though she's afraid of it.
The part that bothered me was whatever, because originally I didn't realize that they were going to give her a fake name because they gave her their.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's very important, kind of.
When they realized that she didn't know who they were, yeah, they gave her fake names because they wanted to have a fresh start with her. And
right. And
yeah.
of course, this part bothered me. They got kind of really offended when Allie thought that they were partners. And there is a consistent theme throughout a lot of this book where they get super offended. So the vibe that I got is it kind of like took me aback because I was like, okay, cool. You don't need to say it. Someone protests too much here.
Yeah. Well, that's why I thought maybe we'd be going in a better direction. But yeah, they ended up like laughing about it.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, like when they came up with their names and stuff, it's just like nicknames that they have with kids. And of course, I'm like, at least they admitted that they're not creative. So like, there's that. And the only other thing that bothered me prior to the Alan thing was there was time jumps, and they weren't always notated at the beginning of the time jump. Like the first time jump was 3 weeks, and it was notated on like in my phone the second page of the chapter. So
it was inconsistent a little bit in that way, but in a way that I feel like first novels can be.
Yeah, it was still notated, which was okay, but I felt like it could have been more. Sometimes it was just in casual conversation. Sometimes it was at least within the first paragraph. But the very first 3-week time jump happened a little bit into the actual chapter itself. And yeah, Alan, piece of shit, garbage human being. I fucking hated him. And this is going to be my own thing. And don't make fun of me for this. This is something that bothers me is, yes, it has the flashback of 2 years, but she's talking about it as she's present day talking about the past. And you know that I have an issue if it's in the past, because a lot of books where they are like 2 years prior and they're talking as if they're present in the 2 years. You know what I mean? Like the tense was weird. Of course, Alan is stupid. He is a sick motherfucker, by the way. Just gonna put that out there. The fact that he made his rat brothers basically get her to quit. Yeah. He was doing because
he was isolating her.
He was doing all he could to isolate her and make it so she could
she was
only
reliant on him. Yeah.
And then I've in big letters gaslighting. There was a lot of gaslighting. He was
though I didn't understand because they didn't go into very much detail. I didn't understand how her complaining about random men attacking her at the bar got rid of all her friends.
So when you are isolated like that, you don't have friends.
No, she made a mention of how her complaining about all these men drove away all her friends. And that isolated her even more.
I mean, maybe they were just sick of hearing about Alan and hearing about all these men being, I guarantee you they were just annoyed.
But
it's shitty, but it happens. So honestly, how much you want to bet it wasn't even her complaining about all the men that drove her friends away. Alan probably pulled some strings and made them disappear.
Right. We don't know. But I'm just saying that's all we got.
Yeah, context-wise. And then I wrote, Alan's going to come back, isn't he? And then my note after that was, why am I feeling so cynical? Like the whole beginning, I knew Alan was going to come back because I knew he was going to be a problem. You don't bring something up like that and then talk about the trauma you have.
Well, plus we knew from the blurb. I also feel like they gave us way too much in the blurb. So
I don't remember the blurb.
Once I started like reading it, the blurb came back to me. And I love a blurb, don't get me wrong. This blurb reminded me of a TikTok that I saw that someone was questioning why some people say that blurbs give spoilers.
They can.
And yes, I understand that they can, but this is a perfect example of that. This blurb basically spelled out the entire book.
Yeah.
It told us that she was going to get with these guys. It told us that her abusive ex was going to come back and fucking cause all this problems and all this stuff.
Did we know?
So we learn about the past and we learn about all this stuff. Case and Cam, who are going by JJ and Nick to Allie, show up at the bar again to see her and get to know her a little bit more, get them in her face a little bit more. And she's kind of vibing with them a little bit more. And there was a point that some global man,
It was
clumsy ass man,
oh yeah, the clumsy ass man.
bumped into her while she was holding a huge tray of beer, and it went everywhere. Glass was everywhere, and they caught her, and somebody like took a picture of that. And so on their next like press thing or something, they were asking about this picture, and they were kind of worried about it because they didn't want her to be exposed in that way. They kind of brushed it off, and it seemed like it was going to be fine. And Case had gone to the bar again to see her, kind of warn her about the picture, but then he kind of got distracted by her and ended up like slipping his number in her back pocket.
There's a time, I don't remember if it was after that, when he was in with his, was it the same time? And his teammate was like kind of hitting on her.
That was right before the beer, yeah.
Yeah, and they clocked how uncomfortable she was.
Yeah.
Like, because they knew when they had touched her, she flinched. And so they saw it again when someone else did it, and they're like, someone hurt her. Like, and then
And they felt that fierce protection.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know, man. She turns them down a lot. It's like,
yeah.
And then,
when
like,
she kind of basically made it very clear, like, you guys can try
Yeah.
your game all you want, but this is not going to work.
Right. And then, of course, they're talking about their feelings. And I'm like, no, those feelings are not a crush. Those are aggressive. I don't know what you think are a
It's like
crush
some
feelings,
insta
but
love over here.
there was a lot of that. And of course, I got super confused a lot about who was who when they were talking. I ended up having to write it down. It was fine. But I kept getting confused when they were using their fake names because I was like, wait, is that right? Is this right? Am I wrong?
I honestly don't know if I didn't get confused because I had written them down. When I write something down and see it in print, my brain is able to commit it.
Because I
so
did
like
it
on my paper, it says Case dash JJ Cam dash Nick. So I think that's why I didn't get confused, because I had already
Well,
written
by
it
the
down.
time I wrote them down, it didn't matter anymore.
Is that okay? Yes, because right after.
Right. But so the other thing too that got me was they were worried about her being a fangirl. Yet, if she was, she would have known their real names before. Like, it blew my mind because they're like, oh, she could still be a fangirl. And I'm like, bitch, she only knows your fake name. You think if she knew your real names, that she would be like, yeah, those aren't your names. Obviously not a fangirl, man. Like,
I liked getting to meet Mary though, because the next part we get
Mary's
to meet Mary.
Great human. I love her.
Mary's fantastic, because Allie realizes that she hasn't really been getting to see Mary. She's kind of locked herself up, and so she kind of forces her out of her house for a picnic. And Allie wants to find out about Nick and JJ also, because they kept asking about her, so obviously they know her. And so she's like, oh, I can find out info from Mary. But when she asks Mary about them, Mary's like, I don't know who that is. Don't say anything to them. But it's so funny because Mary's just a little hot ticket, though. Who the hell says the mama?
Dude, I have that highlighted to the vagina.
What?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I've never heard that in my entire life. That didn't even, yeah. Mary seems like that was off brand for Mary. Mary seems like she would have a much better term than the mama. Just saying.
it was so funny though.
But the jig is up.
Mm-hmm.
Because coincidentally, who just happens to be running by, and Mary gets all excited that her Cam and Case are running by, and she gets to see them.
Oh,
like,
oh man.
But it's okay because everyone's okay, and all is forgiven, and no one's upset, and no hard feelings.
I mean, okay.
And so they just exchange numbers and start a group chat. They all agree to go to, now she knows they're all famous, and she agrees to go to their games.
But not before. They were fucking with each other too at the time. I kind of enjoyed that part, like, because when they were hitting on, they're like, well, the game is on. Like, this is like between the two of them. And that's where I was originally like, dude, she's turned you down so many times. Like, you guys don't need to like chill.
Yeah.
So she goes to the game.
She goes to the baseball game and then she goes to the football game and she
This
has
is
a fantastic time
yeah.
at bowl.
So after one game, she suddenly decides that she doesn't care about her job. That's what I wrote. I was like, suddenly she just doesn't give two shits about her job anymore.
Oh, it's not really her job.
I'm just saying, all of a sudden
I
she's
know. It was
just
so
calling
important
sick
for her to
now.
cover for Mary. I know.
I know. That's why. And then I
But
also
B, she had a good talk with Mary, and I think she was kind of
I
starting to realize that it
understand.
wasn't as
I'm
important for Mary.
I'm
Yeah, I know.
all of a sudden. Whoops,
And
okay.
she hated that place. And yeah,
Yeah.
I know. She was kind of flaky. I
I
wonder if she
did
was an Aquarius.
fucking fuck you. So I did have to look up things because I just wanted to make sure. And on the good news is she didn't fuck up the fact that yes, baseball and football do crossover. Because I was like,
Yes,
I looked it up and I was like, I'm
they
pretty
do.
sure they do, but it does match up. So we're good there. So kudos for research.
So,
We're trying to get humor in before the bad shit happens because it's coming up real quick.
I mean, this whole thing was kind of funky. We got Insta love. We got
Well, yeah, but so
old ladies throwing grapes at people. So after the second game, they were kind of pushing her a little harder and they were like, if you had to choose, like half, because she found an article about them, some outlet had made about which would you choose, Cam Nichols or Case Jackson? And they were like, yeah, who would you choose?
And she's like, neither.
And so they were kind of like, well, wait a second. We don't like neither.
Maybe
Let's
you
do
don't
both.
have to choose. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then they invite her to another game. Or no, they didn't invite her to another game. She decides that she's going to go to another game.
So when they decided that she didn't have to choose, they flew on planes because they were at away places. They flew on planes back to her house and were waiting on her doorstep because she wasn't supposed to work that night, but she picked up a shift and they didn't know that. And they were pounding and pounding and pounding on her door and bringing her doorbell and blah, blah, blah. They were waiting on her stoop from like midnight to like 3 in the morning.
Oh my God. And they were ringing the wrong fucking apartment.
And they were ringing the wrong apartment and getting her neighbor all riled up. And they had hoodies on and sunglasses because they don't want to be seen. And she walked back from her job because that's what she did. And she sees these like creepy figures on her door stoop with hoodies and sunglasses, and they scared the shit out of her. But it was them, and she was all excited, and they went inside and they spent the night because when she chose both, nothing happened, but they stayed the night over with her, talking and just being with her.
Yeah. And it was such a good night for them because it kind of just was building on
culminated their self. Yeah. But after coming off of such a high on that awesome night, they both had to leave early in the morning to go to work. And because they were at work, they weren't responding in the group text right away. And she was like
spiraling because she's like, I bought a ticket to the game. Should I not have? Oh shit. I can sell it. And she's like fucking
because she like spontaneous. She's like, I want to see them. But then like, oh, that was too much. Yeah. I'm like, oh crap. I don't want to be like that. And where they would have been like, you don't like just, yeah, definitely come. But she was spiraling. And so then when they finally responded, they're like, you know, like, we have seats for you. We're picking you up. Like, let's go. And so I she's like, I'm calling out of work to go to this game. But then, oh, never mind. I told work I'm coming. I felt better. Like, cause I didn't mean to make that rash decision. Like, cause like you said, she was in her head. When Cam went to go get her, she wasn't home. She didn't answer her door. And so then he went to the bar and they said she never showed up for her shift. And he was like kind of panicked and kind of like kept looking for her a little bit at her house and stuff. So he ended up going to the game empty handed. And when Case looked up, when he came wicked late to the game and saw that she wasn't with him, and he was like, I don't know where she is. Like, I can't find her. Kind of like he made gestures. Case was worried and he walked off the field. And the two of them went to her apartment and were banging on her door. And just as they were about to leave, they heard a noise inside the apartment and they busted the shit into her door. So then we get her side of things.
Alan,
He
such a
saw
piece
that,
of shit.
yeah, he saw that photo that had been taken at the bar. And even
He
though,
went crazy with this. Like, this is
Mhm.
some stalker
well,
ass
she
shit.
took off and thought she took off pretty good. And she didn't even know he'd been searching for her for so long.
And it's been 2
Like,
years.
yeah, she didn't realize that I guess obsession ran that deep, that he's been searching for her for this long. And so then when he saw that photo of her in the paper, he come a running, and the bar was listed. So he went and waited out at the bar and he saw her leaving the bar and he followed her home. And that's when he saw them on the stoop with their sunglasses and their hoodie and saw her let them inside and saw them not come home. So
She came home and she saw a person with a hoodie and sunglasses outside, and she didn't even think. She goes, "Oh, okay, so he's here." So then they go up to the apartment and he goes, "You stupid bitch." Because she turned around, he goes, "You stupid bitch, you couldn't even look at my face." And then he's like, "Open the door." And she goes,
you
"No, I'm not
thought
gonna open the
you thought I was one of your boyfriends.
Yeah, your boyfriend or boyfriends," because he's like, "Yeah, I know." And then he explains to her what happened, and then he shoves her and then takes her key and opens her apartment and brings her into the apartment, and then proceeds to like explain to her how he found her, all this other stuff. He saw the picture, he was livid because he was just gonna talk to her. I was gonna have a nice, calm conversation
Yeah,
with you.
right.
Yeah, about like all this other stuff, and you just left. You left. I was trying to take you out of that dumpy apartment and, move all your stuff, and you left all your stuff and all your things. And, I,
Yeah, fleeing from you, motherfucker.
it gets even crazier because then he goes, you know, and I had a hard time. And then he's like, and I even tried, I was like, "Oh, you're the only thing missing was your car." So then I tracked that car down and I just saw this little old lady. Don't worry, I'm not a monster. She's okay. But that led me to a dead end, but you knew that. And then I thought I had all but given up on you. And then I saw the picture. And then this happened. And then he's like, "So basically, this is her fault." And then he proceeds to literally kick the ever loving shit out of her.
He was like repeatedly kneeing her in the crotch to make her useless for
Yeah.
them, unquote.
Basically, for him to go away, he would like her boyfriends to pay because he knows how much they're worth. So you know what? $5 million
To pay her back for all the
to
the
pay him
money
back
he
for
put
all of
in
the
trying to move her out of her apartment
and
that she
like
never took him up
probably
on.
money, and then also probably money to find her and all this other stuff, as
Yeah.
if that's
Yep.
all her fault. Alan is
Yep.
fucking off the goddamn rails. He is about as off the rails as this entire book/episode has been. That is how off the rails this man is.
I think he was actually more.
Actually, no, he definitely was more.
Yeah.
He was just going and he was punching her boobs, he was punching her stomach, and when she
He's
tried to
beating the
like,
shit out of her.
he was, yeah, and I wish I had warning about that because I
Yeah.
was not prepared for how insane this fucking man was. Like, I knew he was kind of like, I didn't think it was
I
gonna
thought
go
this
this
was going to be
bad.
a rom-com.
It was like half rom-com, half really fucking depressing. It was crazy. So all that happens.
Rom-com with a side of like abduction.
Violence. Jesus fucking Christ. We haven't
Side
gotten
of
there
violence.
yet.
Slice of
We haven't gotten to
violence.
the
I'm just saying, this is the book is.
I know. So all that leads up to when the boys
So, but
bust in.
she passes out, which is
Oh,
why
yeah.
she doesn't hear anyone bang on the doors, and she
She
had
can't find
just
her
kind of
phone either.
right. She
So
had
she doesn't.
just come to when they came around the second time, and that's when they heard her kind of moaning in pain to the sounds of them banging on the door. That roused her finally from this whole ordeal. And thankfully that did happen because then they bust the door in, see her, call the cops, find out everything. The whole situation was weird because they called the cops and reported everything, but she never went to the hospital. They didn't call a doctor to her. I thought that was very strange. She could have had internal bleeding.
I guarantee you she did. And of course, like, as she's explaining everything that's going on, she's like, "Do not come near me," which I understand. She doesn't want to see them that way. And I had said, like, in my own notes, I was like, these boys had a lot of self-control. Case almost caved and like went to her
Scooped her up.
because
Yeah.
he saw Cam on the floor
He
crying.
just wants to comfort her.
Yeah, because she's like, hey, she goes, I have to tell you everything. And she explains basically her entire history with Alan and what had happened. And then she explained everything that just happened within this last, like, whatever time period that this just happened in. And then at the end, she goes, I have one more thing. And she goes, but you have to promise you can't come near me and you can't touch me. And that is when she like starts unbuckling her shirt and like
so they can see the damage.
And they're confused because they're like, what the fuck is happening? Because they had seen
because as far as they can see, they can only see the bruise across her face.
And then so she unbuttons it, and that's when like
which is bad enough, but
yeah. And then Cam falls to his fucking knees, and he's like, and then Case like it was a lot.
So and when the police show up, they're immediately suspicious of the boys, even though they're the ones who called the police.
I understand that though.
But all three of them are telling them something else happened. But because Case walked off his game and busted in the door, like, to get to her.
And they had
They're
seen that,
telling
like,
you exactly what happened.
I'm pretty sure there were pictures of Allie and Cam, I believe it was, and like when they, it's their graph or whatever, and it kind of looked like Case was pissed at them. So like they kind of
from the bar, but because they were mad at the guy, not
right. So it's I mean, to be honest, they dropped the ball with a lot of stuff.
Of course they should look into it, but they shouldn't be immediately accusing them right there.
Yeah, so and then of course, like, I don't remember the time. It wasn't very long, but all I said was, wow, she apparently healed real quick. And then I wrote, and here was my note, Ariel is going to be mad at their first experience because it was in their point of view, not hers. But to be honest,
that might have been the best part of it.
But to be honest, I said it was good to see their state of mind going into this. Like, granted, yes, it would have been nice for hers, and that's the only other issue I had with this book was.
And honest, it was hard for me because clearly she's come a long way, the author.
Oh, for sure.
But it's hard not to compare the book that we had already read from her, where
so good.
Those scenes were really good. And these were not at that level at all.
No. And
not at all.
No, because my issue with a lot of these scenes was at first I thought he was using his hands, but apparently not. He was banging.
It was very confusing in a couple of them.
And I was like,
the way the wording was.
Yeah. And then I did say, why be so descriptive about oral, but not about the actual sex? That there was more description from the male POV than there was from the female point of view. So literally, there was more description about blowing both of them and them going down on her than there was about any of the sex in any of the scenes, any of them. And of course, the majority of all of the descriptions were from the male point of view.
Don't you just hate it when they do a bunch of buildup with the foreplay and then they get to the good stuff and then it's like, you snooze, you lose. But it's just nice that I'm not the one to bitch for was because usually it's just me bitching and you're like, yeah, it's never enough.
This was just like they gave the tease of sex, and that's the part that bothered me was like I literally thought it was his hand, and then it wasn't. It wasn't his hand, and I was like, I'm so confused as to what the fuck is happening right now. And it was like
they weren't great scenes. I'm just saying it.
Don't mind me. I love a good oral scene, but I would like the description of the sex too. Like, I want that.
I've always said that if you're going to give,
you're gonna give one, give the other. Yeah. So it was just, but I did like I was in the mindset of Ariel. I'm like, she's gonna be pissed because most of this is in their point of view, and I understand it from theirs because I think they had more. It's gonna sound shitty. They had more complex emotions about everything than she did. And so I think it was beneficial to have it in there.
Especially with all she went through. I feel like this book was very focused. They were the main focal points, yeah.
Yeah, they were the main character. The main character was not the main character.
There was two MMCs, and that was just kind of
there
was a side FMC.
Yeah. So then shit gets crazy again. because we can't
Well,
have any breaks.
so Alan kind of ramps things up a little bit and sends
Yeah,
them
no shit.
threatening letters with pictures attached, basically kind of like he's watching them. They
Through her
kind of just,
window.
and that kind of gets them to have her stay with them all the time. And
No. No.
and then they kind of just, and I don't want to say brush it off, but they send it to the police and then just make sure that she's protected on their end, kind of thing. They just,
They are covering their ass, but
right. But in the background, Alan has been puppeteering the police without anyone knowing and getting people to be sending things in. He's been sending things into them, like anonymous things, to the
he's
point
been
where,
paying off cops. Like,
yeah, to the point where on one of the nights that unfortunately their schedules line up where she is to be alone while working, they, at their games, get arrested for that original assault of her that we know was Ellen. And while they are both distracted and being arrested, Alan strikes
and kidnaps her.
and she wakes up cuffed and
Originally, I thought she was cuffed in a basement. She was not, though.
I know. The way that it was being described was as if she was in like this cement cell almost, like a portioned part of a basement. But then all of a sudden she went back and described how she got there. And then all of a sudden it was like she was in the living room or in a bedroom or something. Yeah.
I think she was like upstairs in a bedroom.
Yeah. Like a second story of a house or something like that. Anywho, she got taken by Alan. Alan's an nincompoop. He's a nasty son of a
psychopath
who is constantly beating her up while she's there.
Curious as to what his end goal was.
Right, like what? Well,
was he gonna beat her into loving him?
Well, it seemed like that was kind of almost his goal because there was that escalation point that we'll get to.
Yeah.
But it seemed like he had a kind of routine that he went out for 4 hours a day. So what did he do for work that he went out for 4 hours a day?
I don't know.
It was weird. The whole thing was weird. And somehow she got a knife. That wasn't fully explained.
Maybe with the food he was giving her, she had access to knives for that. And maybe she just snuck
but I don't
away.
think it was fully explained. Or maybe it was, and I just
it wasn't that I could see.
But somehow she got a knife and she hid it, and she was gonna try to use that to escape. But on the day she planned to escape, there was a press conference, and Case and Cam kind of like egged him on through the TV and kind of were like made him really angry. So his hit before work that she was used to turned into like a savage like beat down that she passed out.
Yeah.
So when she woke up, she didn't know how much time had passed, and
it was dark outside.
It was dark, so she had missed her window, and he was coming home, and then he like took her out of the cuffs and was like even angrier with them, and then that was his escalation point where he was like, I'm going to make you mine and we're going to run away together kind of thing. And then he goes to try to rape her, and because he took the cuffs off her, she was able to fight back a little bit to a point where she was able to kind of crawl at least to get to where her knife was, and he had a gun and then started to shoot towards her, but she didn't think he'd actually shoot her. It was a weird scene, but somehow she was able to stab him a couple times so that she could run and hide. Oh,
you're skipping a whole bunch.
Yep.
So for one, the investigation's a complete absolute fucking joke. Like, the cops are being paid off, and they're learning this prior to the press conference because they're like, "Why are you just
I don't
looking?"
think it ever said that they were being paid off. I think they
did. They hinted at it. No, they hinted at the fact that the cops were being paid off. Another big thing that happened was the big "I love you" between the two boys.
Yeah,
which was huge. One of them was like, "I felt like I've never really said it out loud."
Right, you've always been my person. Yeah,
unless I missed something, which is entirely possible. How did she learn that Alan wasn't his actual name?
Okay, so
because I missed it.
It was from the press conference. Because yes, it was from the press conference.
Because
Alan told her and the press conference. So the police told the boys, and the boys said it during the press conference. They said it without saying it, it made it kind of clear that they weren't using his name. The press conference made him so angry and riled them up, but it also gave him an idea based on kind of how the police and the lawyer were wording things, that he was going to make it look like she ran away. And he's like, I need you to call someone who doesn't really know you that well that can pass along a message. And she was kind of like, this doesn't make any sense, but fine. Call JJ, because she had saved JJ's number. And as JJ, when he had slipped the number into her pocket. And then when Case and Cam put their numbers in her phone, it was under Case Cam. Now I'm just going to say this. That doesn't make any sense to me, because if I put you in my phone as Crystal, and then I put you in my phone, your number in my phone as Barbie, when I dial that number, it's still going to come up with your name, regardless of if it's possible or not, or maybe it happens to phones that aren't Apple phones. I don't know. She had him call JJ. She didn't get to touch the phone.
Gotcha.
He had access to the phone the whole time. So she told him to call the JJ number. So, but Case, JJ, had a PI looking for her and had all the calls to his phone just in case automatically be traced, thankfully, because when she called him and trying to get him to go along with the JJ thing, she was able to talk to him and get him a discreet message that she loved them and appease Alan in the moment, but also they were able to trace the call. So just in time, after she stabbed Alan a couple times and ran and hiding in the house, they bust open the door and take down Alan.
Yes.
Because the cavalry has arrived and the police are useless again.
Side note, I looked up something really quick because I just wanted to, I will go back.
Oh, if it was possible.
So, because she has it saved under 2 different numbers, which can happen, like 2 different names, same number.
Yeah.
That can happen, but hold on.
Oh.
Because she did not call them from her phone.
Yes, she did.
No, they did not. He goes, we are using this phone. He held up an extra phone. I wondered if it was a burner phone. You know what to say. Don't fuck it up. So he brought up the contact information so that she could call them from that. Because I remember Case was confused because he's like, it's not a number that I recognize. But they told me to answer the phone.
Right.
So that's why.
Right.
So technically, yes, you could have the same contact. Because I actually noticed that in my own phone. I have 2 of the same people, same phone numbers, but 2 contacts for some reason. I don't know why I have it that way, but that can happen. So yeah, she didn't actually call them from their phone. She called them from a different phone, and that's why it would be possible.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like, I knew there was something else about that. Anyways, I'm sorry.
No, thank you for that. Yeah.
I wanted to catch that before we got too far into it, because I was like, wait, I knew something was up with that, and there's a reason that it worked out fine. It was just because of that reason. Anyways, sorry.
Okay, so she's rescued. Everything's hunky-dory. They do up a press conference, basically saying that everything's gravy. And they're moving on together as a team, in which the press are the press, but
these press in this one were so much more mean than the press in Pucking Around was. Damn, man.
Oh yeah, he didn't really get much of her, I guess I want to call it recovery or dealing with the aftermath of all these things happening to her. Again, I think that's going to harp on this character being a little one-dimensional versus the other 2. But we get a tiny little epilogue a couple months later.
Can we talk about the bathtub scene? Is it in the epilogue?
It's in the epilogue.
I don't like it. And I have a question about it.
That's kind of weird. We get an epilogue a couple months later. It's not really far into the future. It doesn't really even give us that much. It's just a little scene between them and talking about celebrating the holidays together. So, what's your question?
I get confused about the bathroom scene.
Sure.
It was more so logistically confusing. Okay. So they both get in it. And if you think, person's sitting like this, person's sitting like this, and she's like, here.
Yeah.
This is really weird. Hold on.
You make me draw this, aren't you?
There. Here we go. This is one
Okay.
This is one person. This is another person. Here's another person.
Yeah.
They sit. So then,
Yeah.
like, he moves his leg so they can, like, kind of be a little closer together. And then she, like, grinds on his calf. And I was like, but is his leg, like, turned like this? Or, like this?
Case had kind of pulled her up kind of on top of him
I
a little bit.
understand that, but she was
Oh.
grinding on the other dude's calf. But even if he pulled her up higher and he slid down, his legs are still like this. This is not a calf. A calf is under here. So I was like, so did he, like, turn his leg sideways?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Right?
I in my head I didn't think of it in that way. In my head, I just assumed he meant the top of his thigh.
That's not a calf. The top of your thigh
Yeah.
is not even close to
No,
your calf.
I
Yeah.
get it now. I just
That's your quad. But yeah, no, calf. I was like,
no,
are they talking about going like
understand
this?
now, but
I-
in my head it like auto just
I'm just
fixed
saying the only way that this can happen is if he,
maybe
like,
it was just like the angle that it was bent. The leg was bent. I don't know.
you'd have to, like, really angle your. Thank you.
None of the scenes
Made sense.
were
I
done
understand,
well.
but I'm just saying that part logistically bothered me that I just stopped reading for a minute. And, like, in my head, I'm sitting on the couch, like, moving my leg. I'm like, with this one? I put it as a calf. I'm so confused. So that's all. And I did read the bonus epilogue before you even say something snarky about it. It was really long.
I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't. Because it was a whole damn fucking novella.
It was a novella.
And
yeah. So here's the thing.
Was like, I just read this whole thing that was socially fucking edited. I can't do it right now.
So basically, like, long story short.
And honestly, it was literally just a novella about Christmas. And I was like, I'm not going to get anything from it.
Well, so, like, a huge thing is Cam never gets to be around for Christmas because of his work schedule. He has a Christmas game. So the whole thing is, like, because it ends with, I got to get the surprise ready, blah, blah, blah. You do find out what it is at the end of the novella, for the record. A whole ton of other stuff happens ahead of time. Still not.
You going to tell me?
I'm going to kind of tell you, not that I remember everything, because I thought you read it. So,
no. You were like, oh yeah, I'll tell us. I don't need to remember shit.
Honestly, the huge thing for me was the first couple of chapters were the last couple of chapters in the book.
Oh.
And then it went into the novella. So it's funny because originally I was like, wow, this is really long for an epilogue. And then I saw the author note about the fact
it got turned into a novella. Yeah.
Which is fine. It is what it is. I'm like, it should have just been more book, but that's besides the point. So
yeah, it wasn't like it was super long to begin with. It could have just been
it was
added.
like 7 chapters long for the novella, but whatever. But anyways, so the big thing is they get her a charm bracelet for Christmas, and it's got a charm for every little thing that they've done. Like, they've got the grapes on there. They've got the logo for the bar that they met at. They got a couple other cute little things on there, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking about how, like, Cam is super depressed because, you know, he doesn't ever get to be home for Christmas to celebrate. In Case will be there, but he's still, like, kind of depressed about it. So, and he has a game in Cincinnati.
Missing his
on
romance.
Yeah, he has a game on Cincinnati. I mean, not on Cincinnati, for Cincinnati. And so their big Christmas surprise is that they're going to go to the Cincinnati game and not tell him. So they do show up, and he's doing press conference afterwards, and he doesn't even notice it. And they run up to him right as he's finishing the press conference, and they're like, oh, basically, like, he kisses her.
Pile
and, like,
on,
the other
yeah.
dude, yeah. The other thing that happened in the ending, in the bonus epilogue, was, like, they were having sex, and, like, you got one in here. I think it was Case was in her.
The mama.
One was in there and one was in her mouth at the same time. So Case pulls out and he goes to kiss her, and he almost gets her mouth, and then he kisses her here because Cam is in her mouth. And he goes, I almost kissed Cam's thing. And he goes, maybe next time I'll do it just to surprise him. And then it ends.
Commit or don't commit, man.
But we know she can commit because we read
right.
such a good
book.
Pick a train,
pick a lane. That is a good note. Obviously, she's gotten much better. Will I read anything that she's written previous to this last book that she's come out with? No, I will not.
I feel bad that we've shit on this book so much there were good
I mean,
parts
but that
in
goes
the
to
book.
show how good the other one was.
And now the thing is,
That's why we're disappointed.
like we talked about it too, because we're like, shit, like this is a first novel by her. And it's hard because we read Rogue and we know she gets so good. It sucks because, of course, we read the other one and it was not great. And so, like, to have that long of books, because there's been a lot of books in between, I don't know how the other books read. I've never read them. And to have Rogue be set such a high standard for us for this author kind of sucks because.
But I think that's kind of on the same level of.
Like, I'm glad her writing got much better, and I'm glad that the book.
Say you read. Let's think of another book. Or say we read. I mean, we can agree as much as you didn't like the book that The Sinner was decently written.
Oh yeah, no, of course it
yes,
just made me uncomfortable.
It was well written.
I'm not saying it's not that I hated the book. It just there were parts I didn't like, but the book itself was
my
very
point
well
is
written.
That's like us reading The Sinner and then finding out that Chantal Tessier had published a draft that she had written of a different book from many years prior, and we read it and we were like,
it would be as if the
I feel like that's and the book wasn't bad itself. It just could have been finessed and edited much better with the knowledge she is now. I wish that the amount that she's grown as a writer now, she would do a rewrite on this, but I don't know if she would go back and do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because honestly, when you find a book you like from an author, most of the time, what do? You purge their selection. So what happens when somebody goes back and purges their books and they find this? That would off-put me. It did off-put me.
It did, and it off-putted me as well. So, what did you rate the book?
Let me double check. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 3. Because again, the premise wasn't bad. The story itself wasn't bad. It just needed to be tweaked a lot.
Yeah.
And there were way too many errors for me to rate it higher, in my opinion.
Makes sense. I personally.
Yeah, I gave it a 3. Solid 3.
So I'm going to give it a 3.25. And the only reason why I'm giving it an extra 0.25 is going to be because I took into account that this is her very first book. So as a first book, it actually wasn't that bad. It is rated a 4.2 on Amazon and a 4.0 on Goodreads. So I think my only other criticism is I wish there was more smut in it because
I don't necessarily need it. Think it necessarily needs more. I think it just needs better fleshed out.
More descriptive, I guess.
That's what I mean.
Like,
better fleshed out.
I wish the actual sex scenes were as descriptive as the oral scenes, and then I would have been
better
happy.
Fleshed out. Absolutely.
And honestly, I probably would have bumped it up at that point. Who was your favorite character?
What's her name? Mary.
Mine too. Honestly, she was so fucking funny, and she was I loved her so much. She was the best part of this whole story. Who was your least favorite?
I'm gonna say the entire police force.
You know what's so funny? I wrote.
Were you gonna say the same thing?
Detectives / the fans, because the fans were so mean and like just.
Why you gotta be so mean?
I know.
Pink girl.
Oh my god. So yeah, they were my least favorite. The detectives were pieces of shit. The fans were pieces of shit. So it just.
Oh. I'm just gonna go with like the entire police force because even the police 2 years ago when she tried to get help
didn't help her. Everything was awful because they're like, well, this person doesn't actually exist, so it has to be you guys. And like, well, she didn't actually file a report. Bros, get your shit together. Come the fuck on. Like, it was just wild. How about your cucumber rating, my dear? Don't give the face.
Maybe a 2.5, 3.
I was gonna give it like a 4 because of the oral scenes. That's it. That's the only thing that's
sticking with my 2.5, 3. I didn't think those were that great.
Honestly, that's the only thing that saved anything. So that was that, man. Ugh. That was a rough one. We struggled getting through that.
Listen, the story itself wasn't bad.
I wish
I gave it a 3-star. 3 stars not bad in my book. It means I liked it. It just
the story had
didn't vibrate.
It didn't vibrate. It didn't vibrate. I wish that the story just had more. I think that it should have been, if it was more fleshed out. And again, it is a first book, so I understand that, but I wish it was more fleshed out than it was. Oh my
Na na
god.
na 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 na. What? We should have that as our whale sound. Na 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 na. Listen to me, girl. Pink. See, I told you, Barbie did a disservice not having that in there. They could have had it in the boombox with the pink cassette, like it used to be, with the pink cassette, and having the three girls, because it was the three of them, have their little setup on the beach with the band. Tell me that wouldn't have been.
It would have been great. So are you ready for the wheel?
Season. Billy, shut the fuck up.
Never. I would say that straight to your face. All right, let's see what fucking shit we're gonna go through the next time. Is it gonna be
Can't wait
another
to
one of
rework
Ariel's?
this shit.
We're gonna see. I think this is actually one of mine.
For some reason, my new boss has it out to get me. Innocent little me. I'm just a petite, talented, darling little thorn in his side. Okay, my words, not his. But he can't fire me until I quit. Long story. Joke's on him because I couldn't even quit chewing gum, let alone my dream job. So I thought I had it handled. I could survive the new boss, along with his icy dreamboat eyes and buns of steel. How he got a stick so far up that rear that tight remains a mystery. I could even endure sharing an office with a heartless Mr. Heartthrob. Easy ish. Then I drunkenly made the challenge that changed everything. I told him I could make an interview with an arrogant jerk like him sell. His answer, prove it. If I fail, he gets what he wants and I quit. If I succeed, he backs off for good. Even if I'm seeing there's more to him with each interview, the plan is simple. Nail the story, keep hating the boss, finally get him off my back. At least it seemed simple until we were eating cheap takeout pizza and watching rom-coms together in his bed. What was the plan again? Write the story, nail the boss, then he gets me on my back. So full length enemies to lovers office romance with laugh out loud slow burn goodness. The boss hole to end all boss holes. Can't afford to fall for a smart mouthed, strong willed employee, but fate has other plans. It definitely sounds like an up your alley book.
It is actually a you book that you picked. I got fucking nothing in my brain every day. I got nothing in my brain. That's what people say. Yeah, I got nothing. I have no fucking idea. So read with us. All right, Ariel needs to go to bed.
Yeah,
Go
it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
They're not thinking pink. Da, 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 da. Oh, fuck.
Listen to me. Ahem. Yeah, so I guess we're going to read this book.
So read along with us. Follow our TikTok.
I
follow
guess.
our Instagram. Email us. Do things. Be happy. Think pink.
Be happy. Think pink.
Da, 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 da. Just can't. This episode
Just
was
doing a
brought to you by
combine there.
Barbie.
Stay on your toes.
You have to do it in the Dateline voice.
Thank you for watching.
It is 10 o'clock. Do you?
It is
know
10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? And thank you for watching this presentation of the games we play. Next time on Smutty Book Club, we will cover, I already forgot the name of the book. We will cover Sincerely Up Yours. Will we enjoy this book? Or will we shit on it while we make fools of ourselves? Stay tuned and think pink.
You gotta sing the song now. Do it in the, come on, you got it. Do the roar.
I can't look at you while I hold on. Na 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 na. Whoa.
If that's not a fucking TikTok clip, I'm gonna be so highly disappointed in you because that's, oh my god.
Listen to me, girls. Think pink. Or yellow, you know.
Oh, well.
Why? P-I-N-K, P-I-N-K, pink, pink, pink. Nope, we're not doing kindergarten. Okay.
All right. Bye.